All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and maybe one of the most dangerous laws from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. We're talking about Law 10, infection. It's all about a force that is so subtle, yet so incredibly destructive, it can completely ruin your life before you even know it's hit you.
Greene kicks this chapter off with a really chilling statement. You can die from someone else's misery. I mean, wow. That line is designed to grab you, to make you sit up and actually pay attention to the kind of emotional energy the people around you are putting out.
So the core idea here is what Greene calls the emotional plague. The thinking is that emotions, especially the really negative ones, aren't just your own private feelings. No, they're contagious. They can spread from one person to another just like a virus.
So, what do we actually mean by infection here? Well, it's this idea that if you hang around people who are just chronically unhappy or unlucky, their bad fortune is going to seep into your life. It's inevitable. You might think you're being a hero, trying to help a drowning man, but this law warns that you're way, way more likely to get pulled under yourself.
To really get this law, you need a solid case study. And honestly, there is no better example of a human infector than the 19th century dancer Lola Montes. Her life is just a perfect and terrifying illustration of this destructive power.
So first thing you need to know, she wasn't even who she said she was. She was born Marie Gilbert in Ireland, but she moves to Paris and just invents a whole new person. She becomes Lola Montes, this exotic Spanish dancer. And right there, that reinvention is your first big clue that her whole character is built on some serious instability.
And boy, did she leave a mark. She basically blazed this trail of destruction all across the globe. We're talking Paris, Munich, England, even California. And everywhere she went, a very clear pattern started to emerge. If you got close to Lola Montes, ruin was right around the corner.
So let's follow that trail for a minute. The men who fell for Lola, they didn't just get their hearts broken. No, their entire lives were systematically taken apart, piece by piece, all because of their connection to her.
First up in Paris, we have Alexandre Dujar. This guy was at the absolute top of his game. He was rich, a super influential publisher, had a huge future ahead of him. He was exactly the kind of stable, successful person that an infector is naturally drawn to.
So what happens after he meets Lola? His life just goes into a nosedive. His business starts to fail. His friends want nothing to do with him. And it all ends when he gets challenged to a duel over some insult about Lola. And just like that, Dujar, one of the most promising men in Paris, is shot and killed.
Next, believe it or not, she sets her sights even higher, King Ludwig of Bavaria. Now, this guy was a respected monarch, famous for being careful with his money. He was the definition of stability and power. And the result? It was absolutely staggering. Ludwig himself said he was bewitched. He completely abandoned his frugal ways, started showering her with palaces, titles, you name it. Her influence got so out of hand that it caused public riots, major civil unrest, and this once beloved king was actually forced to give up his throne. She didn't just ruin a man, she brought a whole kingdom to its knees.
Then, over in England, there's George Trafford Heald. He's a young, respectable army officer, career in the up and up. He falls completely under her spell and marries her, probably thinking it'll make them both seem more respectable.
Yeah, about that. Turns out Lola was already married. So Heald gets hit with a bigamy charge, which cost him his army career and his place in society. Completely ostracized and ruined, he dies just a few years later, totally broke.
Look at this. The pattern is just undeniable. A publisher, a king, an army officer, another husband over in America. It didn't matter who they were or how powerful they were. Anyone who got tangled up in her web of chaos met a terrible end. The one common denominator every single time was Lola.
So this brings us to the big question, right? Why? How could one single person be so consistently destructive? Was it just a string of really bad luck? Well, Robert Greene says no, it's something much, much deeper than that. To really get it, we have to look at the psychology of the infector. This isn't really about them being evil or wanting to hurt people. It's about a deep, fundamental instability in their character that just radiates outward and affects everyone around them.
You see, infectors like Lola have this intense, magnetic personality. They stir up these huge emotions in other people that make them feel more alive, more passionate. But underneath all that excitement is this core instability. Their problems are deep, they're self-inflicted, and this is the most important part, they cannot be fixed by you. When you try to help them, you don't solve their problems. You just get sucked into their never-ending chaos.
Okay, so now that we know this pattern exists, how in the world do you defend yourself against it? This is where the law stops being a story and starts being a practical tool you can use to protect your own stability and your own future.
Now, this is maybe the most important distinction to make. You have to separate the genuinely unfortunate people, the ones who get hit by bad luck or circumstances they can't control, from the infectors. Infectors aren't just victims. They actively create their own misery through these destructive patterns. And if you're not careful, they will pull you right down with them.
So what do? The strategy is, well, it's brutally simple. Step 1, recognize the pattern. See the cloud of chaos that just follows this person around. Step 2, do not engage. Don't argue with them, don't try to help them, don't try to fix them. You can't. Which brings us to step 3, flee. Seriously. The only winning move is to get away and cut off all association.
Look, this isn't about being mean or cruel. It's about self-preservation. As Greene warns, you should never, ever underestimate the danger of this kind of emotional and psychological infection.
And that leaves us with one last pretty personal question to think about. I want you to look around at your own life, your friendships, your relationships, your colleagues. Who in your life are you letting infect you?